What about the blood type diet?
Blood type diet. Well, our blood type changes with the diet. So we originate, all of us originate with O type diet. O, which means original diet, original blood type. And then according to food that we ate, we changed the uh, uh, environment in the body, and body adjusted to be easier to cope with that kind of a diet. And this also shifted our blood group. Even our Rh positive and negative factor can shift. This is not something that you are born forever, although it usually stays the same and blood type stays same because we continue eating the same crap. And this is why they say, well, my mother suffered from this disease, my grandmother suffered, it is genetic. It's not genetic. It is because you continue eating the same stuff, you end up having the same problems. And if you start eating differently, the problem disappears or changes in different problem if you make another error in the other way. So blood type has nothing to do. Ayurveda medicine, they say not so much on blood type, but they say that basically there are digestive types, and some people do better eating more carbohydrates, some people do better eating less carbohydrates. Well, this also is all based on statistics and observation, but it's not based on science. And unfortunately, almost the whole medicine is based on statistics and then trying to figure out why is this happening statistically instead of going about it scientifically. And this is the best explained on gut flora, because we are being told that the gut flora, that we have bacteria in our digestive system, that they are very, very important for us, that they actually influence our hormones in the body. They influence also, they can actually produce melatonin. They can reinforce our immune system. All kinds of baloney things we are going to hear about this gut diet and how we have to support this diet. And then they sell you probiotic. Now, why do you need probiotic if you have a gut diet? Well, so they say, well, the gut flora can be bad because you are eating incorrectly. They understand that gut flora depends on diet. But then they tell you the gut flora, well, you can get through yogurt. Well, yogurt is animal protein and animal fat. So the gut flora that will be thriving in this kind of environment is going to die in the environment of vegetables. So if you want to make your good flora that is based on animal proteins, well, you cannot obtain it if you are eating vegetables. So whenever you are eating vegetables, you are actually destroying your gut flora, changing your gut flora in actually gut flora that is good for vegetables, but it's not good for protein. And vegetables are toxic to us. I wrote an article about it, there is a video about it, and also there is a video that was written by investigator, doctor, who only investigates plants and toxins. And he basically says that plants want to kill you because every plant has toxin. Even lettuce has at least 6, he called them cancerogens. Okay, but I don't agree with it because cancer is completely different type of animal than any other disease. Okay, cancer is strictly energy dependent, while the other diseases are symptom oriented according to toxicity of the blood and the way how body detoxifies. So if you want to, if you eat correctly, then doesn't matter what blood type you have, it will be good food for you. And whenever you hear, well, you are doing exercising, so you should eat more of this. And well, you are more sedentary, you should eat more of this. This is nonsense. because there is only one type of food that is good and healthy for us, no matter what you do. If you are sleeping, or if you are working, or if you are daydreaming, there is only one type of a food that is good for your system. It's not related to what you do, how you think, how you feel, has nothing to do with it. But once, when you eat some type of a diet, your body will try to adjust its autopilot to this diet. Okay, so it will try to do best out of it, it can, and it will adjust also the parameters. Your cholesterol levels will be adjusted, your triglycerides will be adjusted, everything will be now different depending on what diet you are using, including the blood type. But for blood type, you need longer time. It's a transition, maybe generational, being exposed to particular diet, but certain things happen rapidly. If you have, let's say, SIBO problem, the bacterial overgrowth in intestines, they call it bacterial overgrowth, and that causes problem. Bacteria doesn't cause problem. Bacteria is there because you cannot digest this type of a food. So bacteria helps you digest it, and then if you can digest this bacteria and get from it nutrients, which with us doesn't work well. It works with herbivores. That's how herbivores receive proper diet. They take leaf diet, then it goes into rumen, which is a fermentation sac in a body. Then after the food is fermented, it is regurgitated back into mouth, rechewed, and then it goes into a real stomach. And in the real stomach, it comes as a fermented food full of very fatty bacteria and fatty acids. There is no carbohydrate in there, zero carbohydrate. No animal ever, being it carnivore or omnivore or a herbivore, no animal or no living being, an animal type, can be affected by glucose, because glucose is not available in nature unless you break the seed, you smash it, you get flour out of it, because the cellulose membrane is actually in the layer of the seed shell. Once when you break it, if you take any kind of a grain and you smash it, and then you put it in a water, you mix it, the water gets white. The white stuff is actually the carbohydrate. If you take a seed raw and put it in there, you will not have it. It's not going to happen, because the carbohydrate is inside of a cellulose. Cellulose is non-digestible. We cannot digest it. So very often people say, well, you say no eat carbohydrates, and then you recommend people banana. Well, banana is a fruit, and the starch part is inside of the cells of banana, and membranes of cells of plants are all made out of cellulose. Cellulose is sugar, but it is very complex sugar that needs specific enzyme we call cellulase to break it down. No animal produces cellulase, because we are not supposed to be in contact with the glucose through diet, because it will reprogram our body. So in nature, this is impossibility. And only people do it because they know how to. They know that if you heat cellulose, it will burst. You take a corn seed, you cannot chew it, it's too hard. If you swallow it, where you poop, seed will come out. You cannot digest it. But if you expose it to heat, it pops, because the cellulose breaks, and the white from inside of it, this is your carbohydrate. This is your starch. This will feed you. It will give you energy, but the wrong energy that will start reprogramming your body. And I call it glucoholic body. Once when you're in glucoholic body, you are dependent on this starch. If you don't have it, you are hungry, because you cannot process properly fats anymore, because your number of mitochondria has been reduced. And when you are in glucoholic body, now you are dependent on energy from carbohydrates. And this is why you have to eat 3 times or 4 times or 5 times a day. Otherwise, you cannot function, because you eat something, you get instant energy. And then as energy is being lost, your body is signaling for more food, but you don't have any storage of carbohydrate in your body. So the body only can send triglyceride, fat. So your triglycerides are rising in the blood, but you still don't have energy because you don't have enough mitochondria, because you are adjusted now to glucose, to sugars. And more you snack, the more adapted to glucose you become, and less mitochondria you will have in the cells. Let's say if a muscle cell will have 1,000 mitochondria when it's working correctly. Now, when you are giving it sugar, since sugar burns rapidly, you may overcharge a battery. So sugar, talking about glucose. Glucose is the only type of sugar that cells will accept in this process. No other, no fructose, no galactose, nothing, only glucose. So if glucose from starch goes frequently, then cell starts diminishing mitochondria. So from 1,000, it can go to 300 or 200 mitochondria. So if you are not eating, the 200 mitochondria can only produce a fraction of energy from fat, which is not enough. So when you're a glucoholic, you have your breakfast, you feel great, you start working, and all of a sudden you start getting tired and you cannot focus on work. Why? Because you are low on energy. And your cells cannot make it from fat that you have in your blood because you don't have enough mitochondria. So now you start, oh, you need something, you need chocolate, you need something, piece of bread. As soon as you take piece of bread, you get energy, you are fine. But you need this piece of bread. And now you start eating 3 times, 4 times, 5 times a day just to keep the energy. This is all okay if you eat small meals, several meals a day. This is fine, but cleaning, reprogramming, healing of the body happens when you are at sleep. Because when you are sleeping, you are not creating thoughts. When you are creating thoughts, you are actually broadcasting, which takes huge amount of energy. And at night when you are sleeping, you are not broadcasting. So all this energy is available for cellular hydration, cleansing, and healing process. But besides this energy, this gets depleted in this process. So it has to be nourished. So cells have to keep producing this energy. But when you are sleeping, you are not eating. So this is when you get overly hungry, you wake up at night and you are hungry, you have to go and eat something. Okay, so you cannot have proper sleep, you cannot properly rebuild and replenish your body during the night because simply you don't have enough mitochondria running because you are glucoholic. And if you repair your body, if you readjust it back to fats, which we call ketogenically adjusted to ketogenic diet, what happens? You can eat once a day, and next day you may be very busy and you forget to eat. You don't want to eat at night, so you go to sleep, you didn't eat whole day. Next morning you wake up, you are still not hungry. You can go work and then, okay, middle of the hunger is lost once when you're in ketogenic state. This is why bear doesn't have to eat all day long. They are scavenging, so they are looking for food, but they only eat when they find it. Cats, carnivores, they eat only when they are hungry, and then they go hunt, and they don't catch food. They may eat one day, they may not eat 3 days, and they eat again, and they always have full power. No matter what they do, they never feel loss of power. But we in glucoholic state, if you don't have your lunch in time, you start getting dizzy, you start having headaches, anxiety, you actually go in hypoglycemic state because you are out of energy. Your number of mitochondria is not capable to produce the energy that you need. And this is how we can go into bipolar reality. many people are now bipolar. So when they eat something, they are fine to be around, everything is nice, but as the energy goes off, they become tired. And when you are tired, you don't really want to do things. And now if you are forced to do something and you are under power, you don't have energy, now you are kind of desperate and you go into stress mode. When we are in a stress mode, we produce stress hormone. Stress hormone breaks down the glycogen that we have in the brain and in the muscle just to get energy. And when you start producing stress hormones, when you produce steroids, well, normally you produce steroids only when your life is in danger, in extreme situation, and this makes you aggressive. So as soon as you start breaking the, when you start producing steroids to be able to tap into your glycogen system, you become aggressive. And this is what we call bipolarity. Sometimes you are nice and sometimes you are very difficult to be around because you are very aggressive, because you are bipolar and because of diet. I had a bunch of people I had as a bipolar coming for healing. It took between 3 days and 6 days to be out of bipolarity, simply by cutting completely out carbohydrate. And all of a sudden, bipolarity disappears. They become nice to be around. So everything we know about diet is wrong. There is no better diet for one, better diet for another. Some people say, well, I'm heavy because I have a thick bones. Well, just look at the pictures of people in concentration camp. I don't see anybody with thick bones. And there were people, fat people that went there. But after a while, everybody thins down, all the bones become thin because body constantly adjusts to its environment. And if you lose weight, your bones slim down. So it's all about the environment. Nothing is your body is different. Okay, you cannot say that Lipizan horse or Arabian horse. Now, if you bring it to North America, there is a lot of pasture. Now, he cannot have this pasture because he's from Sahara. So he needs to continue eating what he was eating in Sahara. It's nonsense. It's a horse. It will adjust to this diet. That's why you have genetic system to adjust to any diet. But is the diet good for you or not? Okay, so the only good diet is a God-given diet. So you can choose what you want to eat as a God-given food. Do you want to be fruitarian? Do you want to be vegetarian? Do you want to be carnivore? It's your decision. But then see what happens with your body. Show me vegan. You can, I look at through you, I don't see any vegan there. Okay, because vegans are frail, they are pale. Okay, you blow and they fall apart because they have no nutrition. There is no, you cannot get, when you eat the vegetable raw, salads and stuff, it's like eating paper. You have absolutely zero energy from it because you are eating pure cellulose. And whatever is inside of the cell that may have carbohydrate, let's say potato, you eat raw potato, you remain skinny. You can eat 10 kilos of raw potatoes a day and you will be starving for energy. You will be dehydrated, you will be skinny because you cannot get to the starch because it's like in banana, it's in the cells covered with the cellulose. But you break the cellulose, you cook it, pow, it all breaks out, and now you get fat like a pig when you eat carbohydrate because you are feeding yourself, you are getting energy from carbohydrate, but then you eat more than you need, so you cannot store it as a sugar, other than a little bit of cellulite, but basically you cannot store it, so liver transforms it into fat and stores it as a fat. So now you are storing fat, but you are using sugar, carbohydrate for energy, so all you do is just piling fat that you are not using. You are storing it for maybe never because you are continuing to be glucoholic. and you get fatter and fatter and fatter. Yes?
Yeah. So yeah, I just, my son and I, we were vegetarians when we met you, Darko. Maybe you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were very sick from several reasons, but that was one big part of it. And my son Daniel, he was 16 almost, yeah, he was 16, I think. And he was so skinny. But when he went on the protocol, he got so much muscle from the animal protein without training more than once a week at the normal school, you know. So it is it's changing of the body when you go on the protocol. But we have a couple of questions more, and you have also a question about you remember yesterday when we talked on the Skype, we talked about GC muff, but we can go back to that. And we have a question here.
Yeah, I have a little question. You know, in Norway we drink more coffee than in the other countries, I think. But how bad is it with 1 cup of coffee, maybe with cream or something? 1 cup of coffee a day. How bad is it? What does it do?
It is the same like 1 beer a day. It is same like 1 shot of whiskey a day. You bring toxin which closes your cells. So your cells will close down in whole body for hydration. They cannot cleanse, they cannot hydrate until you eliminate this toxin from your blood. And it may take, depending on how hydrated you are. If you are dehydrated, it can remain in your body. You don't eliminate it. It just keeps storing there. And maybe little by little every time you urinate, but you may be constantly being under influence of toxins from a coffee. One of them is caffeine, but it's not the only problem. Okay, so, and caffeine is neuroexciter, so it penetrates the brain barrier. It actually works on, it will pollute little by little meninges around the brain, and in the future will cause headaches. And whenever there is a toxicity of nicotine there, then very quickly inflammation occurs in this meniscus, the meninges, the membrane that covers the brain. It actually serves to filter the blood, so only plasma, lymph from the blood, it penetrates into the brain. This is why brain is white, because there is not red blood going here. But the meninges, the membrane around the brain, gets very toxic, and then to cleanse, it will go into forced hydration, we call inflammation, and this causes headaches. So you may not have headaches now, but you will develop headaches from caffeine. And then withdrawal of caffeine will give you terrible headaches for 3 days. Okay, so coffee is very toxic, and you cannot hydrate on cellular level. You can drink as much plasma as you want. You can cleanse the blood perfectly. But if you take any kind of a
Det kan ordne seg. Vi bare venter litt. Det han sier liksom at hvis vi tar noe, hvis vi bruker noe av det medisinske, for eksempel plantene eller kaffe eller sånne ting, sånn som hvitløk for eksempel, så vil man bare ikke klare å få gjennomført protokollen. Man kan rense blodet, men man får ikke helbreda. Man kan ikke helbrede sykdom. Så det som liksom bytte, hvis du skal transplantere et hjerte, så kan du ikke si at jeg skal bare transplantere 2 hjertekammer. Det holder. Nei, for da virker det ikke. Du blir ikke frisk, du fortsetter å ha problemer når du dør, kanskje. Men hvis du skal gjøre det her, så må du gjøre det helt. Da får du resultatet, da helbreder du.
Hvorfor lukke cellene seg?
Det en forsvar. For kaffe for eksempel, det giftig. Så cellene vil lukke den.